He's right about that. That was Yogi, as only Yogi could say. If you couldn't hear that ball hit the wood, you're blind. And everybody was sitting in the clubhouse when the writers came up to him, and everybody went, yeah, that's right, That was Yogi who said, if you don't go to your friends' funerals, they won't go to yours. It all made sense. We got to play with Yogi Berra. And my whole experience in the big leagues was such a surprise and such a treat for me because I grew up in Sparrows Point, Maryland. That's Baltimore County. I was an Oriole fan. I'm a kid out in the street hitting rocks into an open field with a broom handle I cut off and imitating all my favorite Orioles like Gus Triandos with a big wide stance and this young rookie who just came up to play third base for the Orioles, Brooks Robinson. Who would have thunk, not all that far down the trail, I'm in right field in game 4 and I make a play that, a lot of people said you shouldn't have gone for it. Well, Joe Pignatano said to me one time, don't think, Swoboda, you only hurt the team. Obviously, I wasn't thinking about much. I went after the ball, took the best route I could, and the rest is history. And every time now when I run into Brooks Robinson, I thank him for not hitting it right to me. Otherwise, I got nothing, You play 9 years of Major League Baseball, you really ought to leave with more than 25 seconds of highlight footage. But I'll take it. And when somebody said, how long are you going to try to keep making a living off of one catch? I said, how long have I got? I'll take all of that. I'm the luckiest person in the world just because I was lucky to be in that number. Sham and I were the right field platoon down the stretch. Sham was hurt in spring training. He missed like the first 6 weeks of the season. He pinched a nerve in his back. I thought it opened the door for me in right field, but I started out so lousy. I went so far into the weeds during that season. We had a kid, Rod Gasper. They tried to turn him into a right fielder. He was a rookie. Didn't quite make it. There was another guy, Amos Otis. Gil Hodges really wanted him to play third base. He wanted nothing to do with that. He was an outfielder in his mind, and he was right. They traded him in the offseason. Amos Otis just became an all-star outfielder in Kansas City. But I got to hang around, and I came into the game. It was such a surprise. I played in 1965, my rookie year. The manager on that team was Casey Stengel. He was 73 years old, and I got to play with this guy. And in my book, Stengel spoke in parables. The writers talk about these endless stories that had no ending. All I know is I hung around and listened to him talking to the writers, and all those stories had a point, and all those stories were about things that happened in baseball. Some of them 50 years earlier than we were sitting there in St. Petersburg, Florida in spring training, and I'm listening to Casey Stengel go on and on. But he was 73 then. I'm 74 now. I'm a year older than Casey was when I thought he was the oldest looking guy I ever saw in a uniform. And he was fired by the Yankees in 1970. He was fired by the Yankees, in the early 60s for being 7. They were playing him straight up about it. They thought 70 years old was too old to be managing a major league team, and Stengel's line was priceless. He said, "I'll never make that mistake again." Well, I considered it an honor to play for him, and the older I get, the greater honor it is. And of course, when you're lucky enough, we went from those teams that lost 100 games a year with the Mets. That was my christening in the major leagues. Stengel's 62 team lost 120 games. That is still the gold standard for ineptitude in Major League Baseball. Long may it stand. They earned it. Supposedly, Stengel got the team together after that season. He said, "You guys are going to catch a lot of hell for losing 120 games." He said, "I want you guys to remember something. Don't take it personally. Keep in mind, it was a team effort." Well, we had a few of those team efforts when I played there, and so I went from losing 100 games in those early years to winning 100 in 1969. I can tell you this, winning 100 is a whole lot better. and especially be around a bunch of guys like that, you know, and to be here tonight. You know, when Renee called me, my first thought was, I'm going in the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. I wonder how many no thank yous he got before he got to my name on the list. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. So I check into the hotel and my bathroom is like wheelchair accessible. I realize when you invite a 74-year-old guy, that's a delicate question, which he didn't ask me. But obviously, he wasn't taking any chances. Thank you. And for all the guys here, Joe Nathan, toughest job in baseball is closing. Not too many people did it better than you. And Sham, and you know, that 86 Met team was my favorite, absolute favorite. I was there, got to cover it for Channel 2. I was between jobs in television, and Channel 2, where I had worked before, invited me in, and I covered some of the best baseball I've ever seen. The playoffs with the Astros, incredible. And of course, the World Series with the Boston Red Sox. But I got to go up to Billy Buckner the next day after that ball went through his legs, and I said, Bill, I'm not going to BS you and tell you that I'm sorry it happened, but I'm sorry it happened to you. Because he was a good guy. So I've gotten to see so many things. To the coaches here who went into the Hall of Fame, you're the best. And, you know, the idea is, I think what baseball needs to do today is try to make people understand. Don't take more nuance out of the game of baseball, which seems to be what's happening today as analytics is winning the tug of war with seat of the pants baseball guys. Let's stop it a little bit, and I'm hoping, you know, I hate to be a reactionary, but I'd like to see it go back a little bit. I'd like to see it go back a little more. I'd like to see organizations teach those guys to hit the other way against that overshift and learn about running on dirt balls and play the fundamentals of the game. That's still the reason you win. When you watched 18 innings of a World Series where every guy went up there looking to jack one out, and that's why it went 18 innings, don't tell me that's the best form of baseball we can put out there. Those were two good teams, and Boston was the best far and away. But I think you saw something in those 18 innings that maybe somebody will start thinking a little bit, you know, make contact, put that ball in play. I believe in that. So I am over the moon honored to be here. And all I want to say to you in closing is that my dad, who passed away last April at the age of 96, was a right rear gunner in a B-29 who flew 20-some combat missions in World War II. My mom worked her tail off like my dad did to give me every opportunity I could have to be a baseball player. And my wife of 53 years went through hell last year with a stage 4 tumor they removed from her intestines, and she has made it through in flying colors. With all due respect, those are my heroes. Thank you.